The first wave of Zephyrian war machines descended through Earth's atmosphere like metallic meteors, their hulls gleaming with the promise of conquest. Admiral Kethvar watched from his flagship's observation deck as the invasion fleet's most feared weapons touched down across the human homeworld surface. Each Devastator-class mech stood 3 stories tall, armed with plasma cannons that could level city blocks and shields that had never been breached in 1,000 campaigns. "The humans will surrender within the solar cycle," Kethvar declared to his assembled officers. "No species has ever withstood the might of our war machines." The Zephyrian Empire had crushed 17 civilizations with these very mechs. The sleek, sophisticated machines represented the pinnacle of military engineering. Fusion cores, quantum processors, and armor forged from rare metals found only in the galactic core. Each unit cost more than most planets' annual output. Earth surface Master Sergeant Maria Santos crouched behind the rubble of what used to be downtown Detroit, watching one of the alien mechs stride through the ruins. The thing was impressive, she had to admit. All smooth curves and glowing energy conduits. It moved with the fluid grace of a predator, its sensors sweeping for human resistance. "Beautiful piece of work," muttered Corporal Jackson from beside her, adjusting his rocket launcher. "Shame we're gonna have to break it." Santos keyed her radio. "All units, this is Iron Horse. Target acquired. Remember, aim for the joints. And power couplings. These fancy boys probably never designed their toys to handle good old-fashioned Earth ingenuity." The human resistance had been studying the wreckage of the first mechs for weeks. While the Zephyrians expected terror and submission, they found something far more dangerous: curiosity. Human engineers, mechanics, and soldiers had swarmed over every piece of debris, taking measurements, reverse engineering components, and, most importantly, finding weaknesses. Dr. Jennifer Chen had been the first to make the crucial discovery. "It's over-engineered," she'd explained to the hastily assembled War Council. "They built these things to be perfect, sealed systems, redundant processors, self-repairing armor. But perfection has a price. They can't adapt." The alien mech rounded the corner, its cannon charging with an ominous hum. Santos watched its legs move in their precisely calculated gait, each step optimized for maximum efficiency and minimum energy expenditure. The Zephyrians had programmed their war machines to be flawless. That was their first mistake. Santos triggered the improvised explosive device buried in the street. Not a sophisticated quantum bomb or plasma charge, just good old C4 and scrap metal packed into a drainage pipe. The explosion wouldn't have scratched the mech's armor, but it didn't need to. The blast sent chunks of concrete and twisted rebar flying into the machine's leg joints. The mech's sensors detected foreign objects in its articulation points and initiated automatic cleaning protocols. Microscopic repair nanobots swarmed to remove the debris, just as the engineers had predicted. While the machine was distracted with maintenance routines, Jackson's rocket struck its main sensor array. Again, the armor held, but the mech's artificial intelligence, faced with contradictory data from damaged sensors, began running diagnostic checks. For 3 precious seconds, the war machine stood motionless, processing. That was long enough for Private Williams to ram a commandeered garbage truck into its legs at full speed. The Zephyrians had built their mechs to withstand energy. Weapons, kinetic projectiles, and electromagnetic pulses. They hadn't considered 20 tons of Earth machinery driven by a teenager from Alabama, who'd learned to drive on his grandfather's farm. The mech toppled, crashing through the facade of an abandoned auto parts store. Before its systems could compensate, a dozen humans swarmed over it with crowbars, welding torches, and sledgehammers, tools the sophisticated alien AI didn't even recognize as weapons. "You got to understand something about humans," Santos explained later to the captured Zephyrian pilot they pulled from the cockpit. "We've been taking apart machines and putting them back together since we invented the wheel. Your fancy computer. Brain sees precision instrument. We see parts we can use." Within hours, human mechanics had stripped the mech down to its component parts. The fusion core became a power source for the local resistance cell. The quantum processors were jury-rigged into communication equipment. The armor plating was welded onto school buses, creating improvised tanks that looked like something from a post-apocalyptic nightmare, but ran on diesel and determination. Admiral Kethvar received the reports with growing disbelief. His perfect war machines weren't being defeated by superior technology. They were being disassembled by primitives with wrenches. Humans treated his million-credit devastators like abandoned cars in a junkyard. How? He demanded of his chief engineer. How are they neutralizing our most advanced weapons? Sir, the engineer replied hesitantly, they're not neutralizing them. They're recycling them. The pattern repeated across Earth. Sophisticated Zephyrian technology met human improvisation and lost. Mechs designed for orbital bombardment found themselves outmaneuvered by crop dusters loaded with fertilizer bombs. Energy shields calibrated to stop plasma blasts were overloaded by car batteries wired in series. Quantum targeting systems were confused by humans who didn't move in predictable patterns because they were making it up as they went along. The humans had turned war into a demolition derby, and they were winning. The problem, Dr. Chen explained to her fellow resistance leaders, is that they think like engineers. Everything has to be optimal, efficient, perfect. They can't comprehend the beauty of a half-assed solution that works. By the end of the first month, human forces were fielding weapons cobbled together from alien technology and Earth machinery. A Devastator's arm cannon welded to a pickup truck. Zephyrian energy shields powered by car batteries and duct taped to riot gear. Communications equipment that was half quantum processor, half ham radio, and held together with prayer and electrical tape. Admiral Kethvar's final report to the Empire was brief. Human resistance has proven adaptive. They have converted our technological superiority into a resource advantage. Recommend immediate withdrawal before they learn to replicate our jump drives. He never sent that report. Before he could, the humans had built themselves a spaceship. 1 part captured Zephyrian shuttle, 2 parts International Space Station, and held together with enough welding to make a sculptor weep. It shouldn't have been able to achieve orbit, much less travel to his flagship. But it did. The last thing Admiral Kethvar saw before the boarding parties arrived was a human in a spacesuit made from a diving suit and a motorcycle helmet, carrying what appeared to be a Zephyrian plasma rifle duct taped to a leaf blower. "Ma'am," Sergeant Santos said later, saluting the newly promoted General Chen, "what should we do with all this alien scrap metal?" Chen looked at the pile of salvaged Zephyrian technology, enough advanced materials to revolutionize human civilization, if they could figure out what to do with it all. "Same thing we always do, Sergeant," she replied with a grin. "Fix it up and make it better."